How's it going, everyone? Welcome to this week's Q&A. So like any other week, if you want a chance to one of your questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question of the week. And it is there some sort of rust preventative measures that you can take, on your vehicle? Well, this really depends on the area you live in. So obviously, if you're in an area where you don't have exposure to rust, whether it be from, snow with brine and salt and stuff like that, or you live near the ocean or something along those lines, and this probably isn't for you. But if you occasionally visit those areas, it may be something you want to consider. If you're driving in the snow often, then definitely something you want to go ahead and do. So what I'm going to recommend is basically undercoating, and you want to give the car a good wash before you undercoat it. You don't want to trap anything in there that's going to accelerate rust. So you want to make sure everything is nice and clean before you apply that undercoating, nice and clean and dry. So you could also do like a wax spray on certain areas. That also helps good, maybe in cavities and stuff like that, where maybe the undercoating will have a harder time reaching. And you're gonna want to get bolts and suspension components, frames, things of that nature, subframes, things like that. And aside from that, every time it snows and there's been salt or brine put on the road, either snow, salt, ice, whatever, you're going to want to go ahead and get the underbody wash as soon as possible. If you don't have access to a car wash or whatever, what I found that works pretty good is one of those sprinkler systems that kind of swings back and forth. Maybe just drive the car over a couple of times, or if you have a power washer, great as well. So really, again, depends on the area if that you live in. But again, if you know this is an issue in your area, even under the hood, there's certain brackets and stuff that comes, the salt will come through the grill and start rusting in those areas as well. So again, just be alert and aware of any problem areas in your area for that particular vehicle. And if it's something that it is an issue for that, then you're going to want to go ahead and treat these sooner rather than later, because obviously you don't want the rust to start. Once the rust starts, it's almost nearly impossible to stop. So hopefully that answers this question for you. Next question is second generation TLX. So 2021 to 2025, 2026, they are canned already. They are canceled. So 21, 25 TLX, all models with the adaptive suspension. Is there issues going on with the adaptive suspension? And yes, there is. I think it's under investigation, but last I heard was a corrosion inside of the leveling sensors. So not the actual damper, but the sensors that send the signal to the ECU for that suspension system. So they get corrosion in there, and then they throw an open or a short or something along those lines, and it stops working. You get lights on your dashboard. Aside from that, I've known of a couple of blown struts, but this will happen to adaptive and normal suspension components for the struts themselves or shocks. So, but nothing too out there other than those two things. But the key one being that seems to be a proactive issue and constantly happening from what I've read is that adaptive suspension leveling sensor connector. So hopefully that answers this question for you. All right, so the next question is the J35 Y5 found in the MDX, the current MDX non-Type S, versus the J35 Y8 found in the Pilot and the Passport. So 2023 Pilot and 26 in the Passport. So which one is better? So unfortunately at this time, it seems that we just don't have enough data for J35 Y8. So the dual overhead cam setup at this point. Now, recently I posted a short that we had one with 30-something thousand miles at 2025 with carbon buildup, excessive carbon buildup on the intake valves, causing some random misfires. So obviously that is something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. But this particular person is a rideshare driver, so he does Uber, he does Lyft, a lot of idling times, which comes with its own issues regardless of the engine, but more so on the direct injection stuff, which they both are. So that would kind of apply to both engines. Aside from that, the biggest differences are we just don't have enough information yet and long-term information and data here yet for like the cam gears on the J35 Y8 that they're VCM or VTC, I should say, excuse me. So they are adjustable cam gears, oil driven. So that could be an area where I see them either rattling or, leaking oil over time. So again, we're going to have to see how that goes. and the head designs themselves are just totally different, the way they're assembled. So that could pose an issue for something that is not experienced with those heads yet. So we did do one already, again, for a misfire, but that one did not have carbon buildup. This was something else, and it had a little bit more mileage on it. Regardless, both of them were covered under warranty for that. So J35Y5 is a reliable engine that we have come to know and love. Now, it doesn't go without its issues. It could also be oil leaks at the oil pump, stuff like that. You need a timing belt on both of them. Now, the J35 Y8, so dual overhead cam setup, is a lot harder time belt setup to do. It's going to cost you a lot more money and a lot more time, whether you do yourself or you pay somebody. So 2, 3, 4 years down the road, we'll probably have a better idea of what's going on with what. But the J35Y5 is super reliable. I think the J35Y8 will have some growing pains, but I think it could definitely be reliable as well. My biggest concern here would be time belt, labor time, and costs, and those VTC gears potentially having oil leak issues or rattling issues. So hopefully that answers the question for you. Next question is, do you still have warranty after you've been in an accident? Well, that really depends. Is a warrantyable item, was that affected by the accident or not? Was that replaced? Was that, bent and not replaced? Or was that, not repaired correctly or whatnot? So it really depends. So for example, let's say, and this happens a lot, so this is why I'm going to use this example. We have a lot of customers come in, they get into an accident. Insurance company only wants to pay for an aftermarket headlight. Now that headlight may work fine, although the way it's constructed and stuff and the materials they use is not the same as OEM, hence why it's so much cheaper, usually half the price or sometimes even more. So if you come to us, you've had an accident, it was repaired, they use an aftermarket headlight, now you come to us and you have an issues because of that said headlight, it's not going to be covered. At that point, you're going to have to go ahead and call your insurance company, reopen a claim or whatever the case may be. Now, if that same headlight was in an accident, you replaced it, and you have an issue with your, let's say, right rear wheel bearing, that's still going to be covered because it was not related to the accident. There's no, outside influence that damaged that wheel bearing or whatnot. So it really depends. If it was repaired correctly, if it was repaired with the right parts, it'll be covered. If the job was done after the accident correctly, there should be no reason that it can't be covered under warranty, whatever the item may be. And just because it was in that area may not mean that it was related to the accident. But the first thing I do is when a car comes in, sometimes they'll tell us, sometimes they won't. But I look for anything that's oddball. I look for signs that has been in an accident. Somebody's been in there, shifted bolts, shifted, mounts, shifted suspension components and stuff like that. So there's always a sign. I could always tell when a car has been in an accident, somebody else has been there or not. So just keep that in mind. Be honest. If your headlight was replaced and you know you've been in an accident and now you have an issue with the headlight, we're going to find out regardless. The headlights are stamped. So we're going to know regardless if you tell us or not. It'll just be easier for me and you and the writer if you're upfront with us right off the bat. So hopefully that answers the question for you. And last but not least, question of the week. And once again, if you want a chance to win your questions being answered, make sure you drop a comment down below. So this next question is involving a 1.5 liter turbo car. And this customer was complaining about a gushing / flowing type of a sound, like a liquid moving type of a sound. So that automatically makes it seem like there is an air pocket in the system. Now, he said he heard it from the engine. I don't know if he means that he heard it while the engine was running or he heard it from inside. Typically, you'll hear it from sitting on the driver's seat and just the water flowing around the heater core and whatnot, causing that noise because there's some air pockets and stuff going on. So he says after they tested it for the head gasket, he no longer hears it. So what I think happened is it was low on coolant. They topped it off with coolant. They did whatever testing they needed to do. And now there's no more air pockets for now. So the noise is gone. So typically when you do hear something along those lines, it is probably because you are low on coolant. Now, if you're going to go and check your coolant, make sure you do it when the engine is cooled off, and use a rag or a towel before opening up your radiator cap or your expansion tank reservoir, whatever the case may be. Just don't go open it. You don't want nobody getting burned. So just be careful when you do that, please. But I think that's probably what happened. Anytime we see that or hear that, typically that's what's going on, and I think this may be early signs of a felt head gasket on this particular vehicle, but he says he tested it. It was good. There's no misfiring. So I guess he'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, if you're hearing this swooshing or moving around coolant or fluid type of a sound inside of your cabin, chances are you are low on coolant and you're hearing that the air pockets and stuff in a fluid slushing around in there. So hopefully it answers this question for you, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.